Hi, good morning. My name is Damien Julliard. I am the data governance lead at IG Loyalty, and we are here this morning to start talking about data governance. And thank you all for being here this morning. And that's the second time I'm speaking to a conference this year about data governance. I'm always amazed by the amount of people that are turning up to discuss data governance, especially in the morning. So what we're going to be talking about today, the company that I'm working for has been going through a data transformation about the last 2 years, which is ongoing. What we're doing, the way the company is restructuring itself is really about building this kind of data mesh set of data products that are interconnected to one another to be able to organize and to share data agnostically. So, for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to try to talk to you about how practically we have been implementing a data governance framework to try to manage this data in a consistent way so that the data can be interpretable. To do that, I apologize in advance. I will have to talk a little bit about my company. I'm not going to try to advertise it, of course, but you need to understand a bit of the background to understand the data problematic that we're trying to solve there. Then I'm going to talk about this kind of 3 pillars data governance that I've been implementing there. First, talking about the required organizational structure that we have to put in place and how the people need to be interacting together before diving into the 3 pillars themselves to understand what we're trying to achieve there. Okay? Ready? So, you guys probably do not know IG or IG Group, but if you are frequent travelers for a business or for personal, you know Iberia, you know British Airways, you know Vueling, Aer Lingus, maybe not clever because even I didn't know it when I joined the company. But basically, IG is the holding company, or all of these airlines, plus 2 group service company, IG Loyalty, and IG Cargo, which is cargo operation. IG Loyalty is my company, which again you probably don't know as such. But if you have been traveling with BA or with Iberia, you guys know Avios. Avios is the business name of IG Loyalty. So, what do we do as Avios while managing the loyalty points of British Airways, Iberia, Air Club, Vueling directly? So, what are the loyalty points? In the old world, you probably would have known with the miles or the points that have been collected every time we were traveling, and you're able to spend them to get discount on your next flight and so on. So, this is what the company is doing, and it's trying to expand itself after not only being managing loyalty program of points for ourselves, for our group, but we've been trying to develop the brand as a global currency that you can exchange points with all our loyalty programs. We're having our first 2 partnerships in the last 2 years with Qatar Airways and with Finnair. That means that you can exchange the points that you are collecting with these airlines, and you can expand your loyalty programs there. So that's developing partnership is really the direction that the company is going to. Where the latest partnership we have been setting up was with Logan Air. If you guys are Scottish or if you have been traveling to Scotland, you might know it. It's a small local company for Scotland, and that's really one target of the company. But we're not looking for partnerships with airlines. We've been looking at partnerships across a whole graph of products. So you guys might remember that back in 2020, the world had been facing a global pandemic that has been affecting us all, right? As you can imagine, this has been affecting severely the airline operation and by ricochet, our operations. In order to survive or to keep the business afloat, we really have to be expanding the way we're doing business and not purely relying on the partnership with airlines, but also partnership on the broad range of airlines like Uber, IV, Airbnb. What it means is that if you are having an account with us, anytime you are paying something for one of these brands, one of these 125, that's outdated, we're probably at 150 by now, you are collecting points. So, this has been great. This really has been driving the company with a double-digit growth on a yearly basis 2020, which is quite remarkable in the business. But as you can imagine, and you would see, it has been creating a brand new set of data problem that the company had to enter and try to think about. So, I was telling you that the company was going through transformations. The company has been changing the whole thing where the entire group was sitting down into one platform to a smaller federated model of data product themselves. So the first thing, the 2 black boxes that you can see are our data domain, if you want. warning you, this is already outdated. We have been adding a third domain with the integration of a business, but that does not really matter for what I'm going to try to be talking about now. And under each domain, we have a data product, which is aiming at managing some of our data. First one, member, it's easy. This is the product which is managing all membership people who are with it. You can imagine there's loads of PII data in there. Currency, this is what we are using to manage or exchange of points between different loyalty programs and so on. Redemptions are the different way that a customer can spend his Avios, either by having a reward flight or by paying something directly with our Avios now, or trying to exchange them. And on the other hand, the data product is everything we do internally to leverage our data assets. So marketing, how do we build campaigns on our data? Customer, how do we make sure that we are satisfying our customer operation using our data and so on. Product, AIMS, also. To do so, we're working with a broad range of data tools and partners that are helping us to manage our data. So you can see we're having Amazon that we're using for storing our data, Snowflake, which is our data warehouse, and we've been trying to develop one Snowflake instance for each of our data products, which are all connected by data mesh and SQL mesh, which is another of our partners that we're using to manage our data. That is key there. Sync, which is our data quality partner. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the quality sections. BI tools with Tableau and Strato, GitHub to manage our code repository, Atlan, which is our data cataloging tool that I'm going to be talking about as well as part of the governance framework, of course, and Terraform to manage our infrastructure. So, what are the problems that all of these tools are trying to help us solve? I think I've been listing a bunch of them that are commonly applied to 80% of the industry, generally speaking. So the first thing is that to ingest multiple data sources. You've seen we have 150 partners that are sending us data. The data that are sending us is not consistent. They are coming from different supports. They are not organized. We don't have quality control. There is no catalog of this. So we need to ingest it. Retired tech debt. Well, this is common to, unless you're working in a startup, this is something all of you have been facing in your business. There is always your crazy CTO 10 years ago that have been imagining this kind of system that is completely outdated, that's never been able to come there. We have a lot of tech that is not compatible anymore with what you want to do, a lot of tools that do not integrate with one another, that's nothing. Developing a federated model across the company, this is great, right? But you don't want to create chaos and create silos. We need to make sure that you are creating a framework that manages all of this data in such a way that you can leverage it, that you can speak with it. Building a self-service data marketplace, this is our goal and our dream. We really want to have every employee in our company be able to access the system where they can go and pick up what data they want, having the definition, the quality scoring, and they know exactly the entire metadata available to them. Building trust in our data, it's important. That's what is driving our quality. If your data is not being trusted by your partners, by your employees, nobody's using it. Simple as this. And the last thing is something that the company and all the industry is trying to focus on is really how do we enable AI to leverage of all data? Spoiler alert. Your AI is only going to be as good as your data. If you do not manage your data in a correct way, your AI is going to be in the same shape of your data. So, I started my role as IG Loyalty 2 years ago. And before me, I think it's fair to say that there was no governance framework, no governance structure, no governance effort in the company. There are a few bits and pieces of individuals that were trying to arrange or to manage the data, but it was not followed by a group decision, so it was always going to work. So the first thing I've done when I started my job is that I sat down with probably 40 to 50 people in the business, sitting in finance, sitting in data, sitting in engineering, sitting in risk and compliance, and I've been asking them all the same questions. What is data governance for you? And I've been building this kind of mural. Apologize, that used to be dynamic, but that's my bad. I've been updating my slide this morning and I forgot to update it. So I was supposed to be moving. I can't even blame big data for that. That's on my own. But they have been coming out with all of these answers. What is data governance? There is data catalog, there are data contract, risk management, accuracy. Yes, there is all of this. And to be fair, all the answers that all of these people have been giving me is probably covering like 90% of what data governance is. Now my second question I've been asking them is, if you were me, how would you implement it? And then started smiling and then told me simply, that's why you're here, because I have no idea how to do that. So there's one thing that I'm really, really keen on supporting when involving data governance is there is two needs, the need of simplicity and the need of clarity. It needs to be as simple as possible. We need to make the life of our data user and consumer as simple as possible. And we need to be as clear as possible so that we can manage it clearly. If it's not clear, people are not following the management that you are trying to implement, and you are going into a wall. So, the first 3 steps before diving into the pillar that we're having is identifying your data assets, right? You need to spend some time and understand what is your data, what is the goal of your data. Second important point, which can be easy or not, is to identify the owner of this data set. I say easy or not because very often you have a data owner, which is a business owner, that does not know exactly the way the data is being structured or the way it is being managed, and sometimes it's easier to refer to a technical lead for that. Yes. The third step is to set up a data governance council. What is it? Well, think about it as an executive committee of any company. This is a group of people which is making decision of what objective you're going to try to reach and making sure that we're measuring progress to the time to ensuring that we're delivering on this, right? So who do you have there? You're going to have all of your data owners. Probably going to have security experts. You're probably going to have risk and compliance experts, governance leads, and any other senior people that you think is going to bring powers to this council. What's very important is that you need to feel that whatever is being decided in this council is being implemented, is going to be for the strategy. And then this is when you start with the meat of the governance. So I told you about three pillars. The first one is data quality. Data quality is very easy in a sense that everybody understands data quality. I'm not saying that's easy to implement, I'm just saying that's way easier to understand what we are trying to do there. The first thing is that we want to make sure that we are capturing quality metrics in a consistent and agnostic way for whichever data asset that you are managing, whether it be finance, whether it be marketing, whether it be commercials, we need to be able to deliver and propose these same metrics. So the second thing is to have a system that is allowing you to capture and to spot any kind of quality issue you'd be having on the spot, to be alerted as fast as possible so that you know how to do it. The next step, of course, is when you spotted it, is to have the right tool to allow you to fix this issue. But that's quality issue. The second one is what I've been calling the literacy program. This program is basically where you document all of your data assets. So you'd be requiring a data cataloging tool, some tool that would be as new, in which you're going to be using for building a data glossary, a data catalog, your data lineage, your playbook. What's a playbook? It's just a quick 2-pager explaining the why, the vision, and the mission of a data product, just giving some background for quick informations. You also want to use this program to making sure that you are managing the type of learning and training that is required from a governance perspective. So you might want to have a privacy training, some data management training, quality training, and so on. The last thing is communication. You need to make sure that you have somebody or something in your governance framework which is communicating about why you are doing this and what you are achieving to the rest of the business to make sure that you are bringing them with you. The last one is the trickiest one, is the access program. This is where you manage access to your data assets. This is where you make sure that you are being compliant. This is where you make sure that you are building the right user groups. This is what you make sure that you are managing your sensible data. There is a fourth layer that I'm not going to talk about it today, but that's we're working hand in hand, is what we call the IT data management. Is everything that comes about security, audit, encryption, making sure that there is the right password, the same password against your teams, that everything is encrypted when your data is traveling from point A to point B, and so on. Okay. Now, all of this organized together, communicate with one another. So, take these 5 ugly column to start with that represents data products. I'm starting with 5. It can be 2, it can be 5, it can be 10. That does not matter. So each data product has a team inside. You got an owner, which is managing the team, which is owning the team and the data, and you got the teams. The team can be data engineers, data scientists, business analysts, depending on your industry, depending on your product. You can be a team which is staffed with 3 people, you can be having a team which is staffed with 40 people. So it does not have to be consistent. So as I've been discussing, sitting on top, you got your data governance council, executive body deciding what you are trying to achieve. As an horizontal function, this is where your data governance office is sitting. And you can see you have your 3 program, quality, literacy, and access. This is going to be working as an horizontal function with all your products, which are the vertical. The first thing that you have to do is working hand in hand with your data owner. Take one product, start small, making sure that you are building something that's working well small. Appoint a steward for each one of the programs. Usually, the quality and the access stewards, you want to have them technical people. Data engineer is a must to have because they will have to touch about coding and skilling. Literacy stewards, the most important skill is to know the data of your data product the most. So it's usually business people, business analysts are the best people to work with. And then you iterate one product after the other ones, make sure to find the one people. And then when you have this is where you can expand because your business is going to be expanding. May you want it or not, it's always growing. So you will have to add additional things. So what's happening next is that you have been building, you appoint quality coordinator because that's becoming too much for one person to handle. So you want to have one coordinator for each one of the program. And what you have been building there are 3 committees. You got the quality committees, you got the literacy committees, you got an access committees. What do these people do? They work together to make sure that whatever we are doing across the product, it's aligned and we're following the same way and we're implementing in the consistent way across all data products there. This is the idea. Now let's dive in a little bit into what we want to do. The first thing in quality, I told you earlier about Sync. Sync is our quality partner. I want to thank them. They asked me to come here today to speak there, so I'm glad you mentioning it there. You probably don't know them yet. It's a small startup, a few years old. What I like about working with a startup is that they are usually faster and more flexible. So when we started working together, they did not really have a product to show us. So we have been really working on interviewing what I wanted to do, what our team wanted to do, what we wanted to deliver, what capabilities we wanted to build. We had a POC with them for a couple of months, and in a couple of months, they give us a demo with a mock product I've been building, and we decided that was good enough, that was going the good direction that we wanted to do. So what we're trying to do, the first thing is visualization of your metrics. All right. So you need first to agree on the metrics that you want to capture. So in our case, we have been using the 6 usual suspects: consistency, accuracy, validity, timeliness, completeness, and uniqueness. Right? When you choose them, you need to make sure that all of the business or the data product agree on these definitions. It's important that 2 people do not understand consistency in a different way. So there is a lot of work to be done there, and it's something that you probably want to review all the time, every quarter, every 6 months, making sure that everything is still aligned on this. You also need to be focusing on the data that you want to target with your quality assessments. You probably don't want to target your entire ecosystem because you might be dealing with thousands of tables, right? You want to make sure that you are targeting the data that is being commonly consumed by your consumer in the business. So finance, that data that's consumed by finance, data that's being consumed by marketing, and so on. So depending on your architecture, the way we have been working in a company, we have implemented the kind of medallion architecture when we're having a bronze layer, a silver layers, and a gold layer. And the idea is that we're only going to be commonly sharing the gold layer, which is a fully transformed asset. Of course, that is reducing the scope of what you are trying to do significantly. That makes your job much easier. The second thing that you need to do is to deploy your monitor. Monitor is what's going to be capturing these quality metrics. That can be quite a heavily intensive job. Right? If you have, let's say, 500 columns in your gold layers, you have 6 metrics, 500 times 6, that's 3,000 monitor to code. That's a lot of job. There are 2 ways for doing it. You can either do it directly in your SQL model if you have an engineer that can be working with you for that. That's, for me, the best thing to do, but it's complicated because you require some techniques to do that. Or you can do it through the platform itself. When you are just like from normal business user, don't need to understand how to code, they can just select it doing as such. I would always prefer to do it on your model because it's something that then you can move and then you can deploy different use cases later on with that. The next thing is to set up your engineering alerts. So of course, every time there is something that's failing, something that's broken in your data, you want to make sure that your quality stewards or your engineers are being alerted in real time. Setting up alerts is tricky, right? You don't want to risk alert fatigue if your system is creating too many alerts that your quality stewards cannot handle. If there are some known issues that are being recurrent, you want to keep on being alerted onto this one, so you want to make sure with it. So there is a lot of work to be done with your engineers to understand the type of alert that you want to do. When you reach this stage, that's when it becomes fun. The first thing is that we have been working with Sync to apply machine learning to your triage alerts, making sure that your system is capturing all your answers to all of these quality alerts and learn from it. First, to triage it, to categorize it into what is in terms of priorities, in terms of importance, and so on. And the second thing is that it can learn the fix that you're implementing and suggesting fix so that it can become as simple as a quick review if there is any issues there. The other thing that we've been working with there is, I told you about how painful it can be to deploy monitor. You can use machine learning that are feeding from the first monitor that you have been creating first to suggest your monitor for the new data product that you're going to be implementing or for the new data point that you want to mix. Again, you are just self-learning. You are building a system that is self-learning based on what you are doing. All right? That's quality. Moving on to literacy, Atlan is the data cataloging tool that we are using. It's not the best, it's not the worst, it's a data cataloging tool. What do they do? Well, the first thing that you need to do is add your data descriptions. What is the data descriptions? You enter in your definition of what's your table, what your column is. There are a few ways of doing this. Either you can do the simplest way is to do it straight away in your data cataloging, but it's a very manual process. You might have some suggested definition, but that's probably not the best one. What we've done and what I think is the smartest way of doing it is to find a way to input your data definitions directly in your model, in your data model, right? Why? Because whenever you are building it or you are adding new tables, new models, this is right next to the person that is modeling it. There is no gap between the moment a table or a model is being updated, the moment the definition is being added to that. You can enforce it, you can make sure that any new column, any new table is not published without having this added. And then you create your great data glossary. You're going to ask me, what is a data glossary if you've already been creating your catalog? A glossary is simply the list of all the terms that you need to understand for your cataloging. If you are using any technical term, any abbreviations, you need to define it there. Same thing, is better to set it up in your data model to connect it later on. Then what you do, you want to push all of this metadata that you have been creating into your data cataloging. Most of these data cataloging tools have an integrated API, so that's actually quite easy to have all of this being sent from your data model to the cataloging tool automatically. Then what's important is building your product score. Most of data cataloging are going to give you a score based on the amount of metadata you have been populating in your cataloging. You just want to make sure that the score is as high as possible, because the goal is to open your data catalog to your entire companies. Right? You want people to go into it. If they can see straight away that your scoring is bad, you are shooting yourself in the foot, and people are gonna remember that the score is bad. It's better to only open it when you are 100% sure that the catalog is accurate. Then, this is where it becomes fun, and I believe this is the right that's going to be changing the industry of data cataloging in the next few years, is that people would not want to keep on going into their cataloging tool to consult the data definitions. They will want to ask a question to a chatbot. So if you have been inputting your data definitions and your glossary in your models, and your company is deploying an AI agent into your model to read the metadata, you can ask the question straight away there without having to go through the entire book of your definitions. Last bit, access, trickiest bit. We want to make sure that we are compliant, we want to make sure that the access to your data tools are as easy and smooth and consistent as possible. So the first thing that is important to do is to build and define a sensitivity model. So This is quite tricky, right? Because you might want to be thinking, oh, I want to be as accurate as possible, so I want a model which is as granular as possible. If you do that, you're going to make your life extremely complicated because you will have to access a lot of different type of data that you have to select and manage separately. So you really have to find balance between simplicity and granularity. And I would suggest not going for more than 6 or 7 layers of sensitivity. Second thing is to implement masking policy based on this group. So it's a bit of work, but the logic about it is quite easy. You are sitting in finance, you are not supposed to be accessing PI data, so you are building a group that does not give access to finance or PI data. You are in marketing, you're not supposed to have access to confidential financial data, you build a group that does not give access to financial data. The other thing is then you need to align your user group across the entire ecosystem. So you are building your user group on your data models, but then you want to make sure that your BI tool, your data cataloging tool, your quality tool are all following the same level of access. So you have to do it only once, and you manage your access for one individual only once across your entire ecosystem. Again, you will need a little bit of platform engineering. That's the idea here. And the last bit is really against leveraging of your platform team, if you have one, on centralizing the access request for all of this. You want to manage your access tools into one place. Bear in mind that you are not going to be managing only data tool. There are a lot of tools that your company is operating on the software front and some other place. One unique place is easier for all employees to know where to get it. And this is how you achieve a unified compliant data access. So before completing, I just want to have a quick recap on how AI is really helping us to build a framework faster. On the quality front, the two most important things is really the machine learning that you want to import into your alerts, triaging, and the way you are setting it up, and the way you are learning from the monitor that you are deploying. Second thing, an agentic assistant to connect your data cataloging to your quality scores if you have been deploying your metrics, so that in the future, anyone in your business can ask your agent, I want to have the definition of this data and the relevance of it. And you get the quality score, the definitions, the glossary, all attached in one place, not in the platform, but whatever they want to after. The last bit is the agentic data. One thing I didn't mention earlier is that tagging the sensitivity can be quite painful, especially if you don't have a data cataloging made in advance. We have to do it by humans. Humans are prone to error, of course. So if you already have your catalog that's made, that's easier. If it's not, that's not easier. If you have an agent that's able to connect to your data cataloging to assess the sensitivity to tag it automatically, this is what you want to have. This is what your goal is. And this is it. Thank you all. I hope you had fun. And I'm happy to take any questions if you are.